Hello and welcome back to the another video of UiPath RE project. We have already completed one video that was 6 hours of video, and I have explained in detail like how to create UiPath workflows and how to make a end-to-end automation. But in that project we have not used any Q or RE framework. That was the simple project and very basic project. But here in this project we are going to take one step ahead, and we are going to create the project using Orchestrator Q, RE framework, and we are going to divide entire approach into two different parts: dispatcher and performer. So right now on your screen you can see one flowchart, and in this flowchart I am trying to explain how this project works. So dispatcher is not available within this diagram. This diagram is only for performer. In dispatcher we will just read the data from Excel, and we will use a bulk upload activity, and we will upload the data in queue. But in your case there might be some different requirement. You might have to read the data from different documents, or maybe from a web source, or maybe from some API. So in that case you can take the data one by one, and you can keep adding the rows in queue. So that I have explained already in one of the video, but here we are focusing on the performer. Alright, so now let's talk about the performer bot, how that entire bot is going to work. The starting point of the bot would be to read the data from queue. After reading the data, UiPath RE framework or UiPath bot would assign that data to variables, and those variables would be sent to different UiPath workflow. So first workflow, we will check like what is the amount, and based on the amount what should be the tax percentage. So let's say if the billing amount is more than 700 as on your screen, then we will add 15% on the total bill. If it is less than or equals to 700, then we will add 10% of total bill. So this entire logic will be performed by one of the workflow. This workflow will take amount as the input parameter or input argument, and perform the calculation and return three things: total amount, percentage, and tax value. So once we have these three things and we have few more variables, those are already available in queue, we are going to create the template. So to create the template, or I would just say create PDF. So to create the PDF or to create the template, we are going to use one fixed template wherein we will replace the data. So let me just show you that template. So right now on your screen you can see one Word file. So you can see in this document some placeholders. So these are the placeholders that I am highlighting. So we will replace these placeholders in the template, and then we will create a PDF. Alright. The next will be like we will be using this data, and then we will do the data entry. We will upload the file, PDF file that is created in the last step. After that we will send the email. So for email sending there will be a different UiPath workflow file. For doing the data entry there would be a different UiPath workflow file. So when we use the RE framework, inside RE framework we have multiple files. So RE framework is a state machine. So always remember there will be two different main files. One will be the RE framework main. The another one will be in the process transaction. So in process transaction, this file can be with any name, but there will be a single file that will be triggered, and all other file, mostly as per the common design that is mostly used, would be working under this file. So in RE framework, once we have the init will initialize all the applications and all the configuration data. Then second, get transaction data. We will read the data from queue. After that the main file will be triggered, and this main file will be triggering other files. So here we are focusing on the project, but if you want to see more about RE frameworks, you can refer to a different video on my YouTube channel, and I will explain more when we are going in the development, because our main focus is on project. So now you might have a question. You just have seen this part 1 2 3 4 files. Now if this file will calculate, how will this file give the data to this file? How will this file will pass the data to the web data entry? So let's say you have any workflow that is giving you out that is taking in result and giving you some out result. Okay, so out result can be passed to variables in the main file. That might be main of RE framework, or that might be the main process file. And from there, again, you can pass that same information as an input argument to the another workflow file. So if you have worked in some of the programming languages or any of the OOPS project, you will understand this part. Alright, so let's get started now. We will create the workflows one by one. And after creating the workflows, we will integrate entire project all together. So the integration and the RE framework part will come in the end, but creating these 4 workflows we will complete first. So I will start my UiPath Studio. After starting, we have to create a RE framework template. So I will click on RE framework. I have to select the path where I want to store this. And you can rename. And in UiPath Studio, you will have the option to select the language. So if you are selecting VB, then the syntax that you will be writing will be the VB, will be the Visual Basic syntax. If you are selecting C#, you have to write the C# syntaxes. I am using VB. And now UiPath Studio will create the environment for our project. So meanwhile it is UiPath is starting, I would like to inform you, like, UiPath Studio is available in cloud now. So if you want to use that cloud UiPath Studio, you can go ahead. All the options will remain same. Other than that, UiPath follows 2 different UiPath Studio design. One is the modern design and one is the classic design. So we have completed previous UiPath RPA project in classic design, and this RPA project we are going to complete in modern design. So now if you want to check and switch between your modern and classic, you can just click on the project folder, the setting sign. From here you can just go back to the classic. Alright, so we have the RE framework template here in front of us. You can change the zoom size from here, so that I am using 90%, so that I can see all the details, all the activities in a single window. Alright, so let's go in the folder and see what kind of folder is created. So you might remember the name, same name folder is created now here. And I would also like to show you like which kind of data we have. This is the sample data that we are going to use. I have used this kind of data so that we don't face any issue, because sometimes YouTube will see if it is the original address, YouTube might block the content. So there can be any address, any company name. I have just taken this as sample. Alright, so I'll close this. And we will go inside RE framework. So you can see one main file is created here, that is the RE framework main file. And if you go inside these this framework, so you will see many processes, and this process file would be triggered in the process state. Here process file, all other files will be there. This is the main process file for us. So I will open this file. Okay, and as per the expected design of the process, we have to create first of all calculation, because calculation should be done first. So here is the total unit and unit count and unit price. First of all, we will create a new workflow. You can create a sequence or flow chart. I am directly creating a workflow file, and I will name it as tax calculation. Alright, so workflow is created. Now next is create the required variables, but here we will take the information from outside, so we will require arguments. So whenever we create the argument, we use in and out before the argument name, so that we can understand this is a input argument or the output argument. I hope you have the idea about input and output argument. So in we need unit count, we need unit price. Okay, so based on this we will do the calculation, and then we will get three things. First thing, out, but since these values will go in the next workflow, that is creating template, so we have to use out arguments here. Tax percentage, out, tax amount, out, amount payable. Alright, and everything I am taking in double. So I am changing the data type to double. So in UiPath Studio, you have few basic data types directly available, but few you have to add as per the uses. So double is system dot double, and then once you have added one time, it will be available in the list. Alright, so we have this. Now the first thing that we have to see is like, what is the amount? So the total amount, so total amount, or let's say total value, or let's say all unit value. So why I am creating this as variable? Because we don't have to pass this information to some other workflow. So to get this value, what we have to do, if you will click on variables, the variable pane will come down, and in UiPath you can use the activities from here, and you can use the activities from this plus sign, and the shortcut, as you can see right now on your screen, is Control Shift T. Mostly I will be using Control Shift T because I have that habit now. And before I go ahead, I would like to tell you, like, if you want to use some of the activities, those are not available in modern, but those are available in classic. You just have to change from here the filter sign. Click on activities in your UiPath Studio, go on the filter sign in UiPath Studio, and show classic. So you will have modern activities plus classic activities available. But here it is not required, so we are just going to use assign. All unit value, so all unit value will be in unit count into in unit price. If you are not able to see the calculation, what you can do is you can click here on editor and you can write your syntax in editor directly. I am explaining in detail considering like this video is for beginners and I am just explaining everything. The best practice, one of the best practice, you have to name your activity so that you can troubleshoot whenever there is a problem. So assign all unit value. So you can see, so whenever any error will occur, let's say, so you can just go in this activity because you know where this should be. If you will leave it as assign, there might be hundreds of assign in your project. Okay, so this value inside into this value. So now to calculate the percentage, what we have to do, we have, so percentage is if amount, the total amount is less than 700, 10% of tax. If it is more than 15% of tax. So inside if condition, now you can in if total, so if all unit value is greater than 700, then what we can do is we have to use this else also. If you want, you can rename the sequence label as well. If otherwise, we just have to use assign and you can rename this assign. So if the value is greater than 700, then now out percentage, because this percentage we have to take for the template also. Let me show you. We will be using the percentage somewhere. Unit price, so we are not using percentage anywhere. So this is the web page where in simple web page I have created just to avoid any kind of copyright. So percentage we are not using finally. If you have to change any argument to variable anytime, so what you can do is you can take the percentage. Here is the percentage, right click, then convert a argument to variable from here, and if you have to rename it, you can rename. Wherever you have used it, it will be automatically changed. So you can see text percentage, and we can assign the percentage as 15. If we can copy this activity from here, go into this sequence. If it is not greater than 700, then we will take as 10%. So we have decided the percentage. We have told our bot which percentage bot has to consider when. Okay. So once we have the percentage, now what we have to do, we will require tax amount, and then finally we will require the total amount. So to get the tax amount, or we can say tax value, out tax amount. What would be the tax amount? All unit value into tax percentage divided by 100 should be the tax amount. And what should be the total amount, or we will follow the name amount payable. Well, so amount payable we have to take in the next stage. That is why we have created the argument. out amount payable, and amount payable will be the all unit value plus out tax amount. Okay, we can have a quick check on this. Let's use log messages and write a message here in quotes, tax amount, and then use the variable out tax amount dot to string. Same way we will use one more log, and so you can see these fatal error warning info and trace that I will explain in a separate video, or you can use the UiPath documentation to understand the log labels. Okay, and then you can just type a message total payable. After that you can use your variable to check out amount payable. We missed dot to string, right? One more thing, like your studio should be connected with Orchestrator whenever you are uploading the data, or whenever you are pushing any UiPath Studio project to your Orchestrator. Otherwise, if connection is not there between your studio and Orchestrator, your workflows or your published workflows will not be pushed. So that also we will see as we are progressing. Before we are running, we have to give some default values for testing. Let's say unit count we will keep 2, and we will keep unit price as 375, and other two values are the output argument. So we don't have to use any value, but we have to change the direction. If you want, you can use in out, or you can just keep it as out. So the moment you will change it to out, it will not accept any default value, because it will give the value, it will not take the value. Alright, so now let's run this. So you have the tax amount as 112.5 and the total is 862.5. We have given the, so let's check the values. So we have given 375 plus 375, 750. 750 percentage 15. So calculations are done correctly. Now next what we have to do, we have to create the another workflow, that is create template or create PDF. So I will go back to UiPath, add new workflow file, create PDF, invoice. Alright, so UiPath workflow is ready. So to create the PDF invoice, what we will do is we will just use this Word file and we will replace all the values, all the placeholders that you can see as I have just explained. And to replace these values, we need these values from somewhere. So we will be getting these values, few of these values from the queue and few from the workflow that we have just created, calculations. So this tax amount and payable amount will come from the calculation workflow, this 1 and 2. Rest everything will come from the data. That data will be in queue, so zip and everything will come from there. So to get the information, what we have to do, first of all, we have to create all the arguments. So I am creating the arguments. Item name, You can move this UiPath variable panel as per your requirement. Unit price. Do we have unit count here? No, we don't have unit count, so we don't need that. Order day. Okay, so for testing, what we will do is we will just use the default values, because this everything is in file path, PDF file path, because we have to use that file path upcoming workflow. So let's have a look if we have missed something in these variables. Unit price, tax and payable amount, address, customer name, zip and city we will use. Order number is same, that can be used from here. I think we have all the information. So if you want to add some logo or anything else to make your template more fancy, you can use that. But the basic concept will remain same. There will be a Word template and we will be changing the data, and then we will be saving as PDF. Alright, so let's minimize this and close this. Pass some data. Test item name, unit price, I will take it as a string right now. Also 400 I will take just for example. Payable amount will become 4,400 for example. Test name, customer address. This is exam 11. File path is the out argument, so it should not come. Now we have these variables ready, our arguments ready, and let's just minimize this panel. So now how are we going to create the PDF? What we will do is we will read this entire string, and in the string we will loop on each word, and in the each word wherever we find this, we will replace that entire word with the value, respective value. Alright, so let's see how to do. So first of all, I will be creating two variables. Array of place holders, and this will be the array of string. So then you will see this prompt, it will ask you for the type of array, so then you can select the string here and click OK. Another array we have to create, array of values. So the values which will be replacing the placeholders. So this also will be array of string. You can select directly from here. It is added in the UiPath variable data type list. Okay. So after declaring these two variables, we have to assign the values to it. Now to assign the value, what we have to do is first we will use the placeholders so that we have fair idea how many values we have to replace. So let's have a look once again on the template before we go ahead. So you see customer name, address, city, zip, same order we are going to take the values also. So what we will do is this city placeholder only can be used here, so it will be replaced at same time, both the values. And now this zip also, now it is looking fine. So what we will do is we will just take copy like this, and we will create first of all assign. assign multiple values to a array, we use the parenthesis, and inside that we are using a string, row string values, like that. Again I will copy the next one, address. So similarly I have copied all the values. Okay, if you want to wide this up, you can see here all the values on your screen right now. In the same sequence we have to pass the argument or the variables, so that when we are going, we will have a counter variable. Same counter will be applicable for both the arrays, to search and to replace. So it is 0, this value is 0, this is 1. So when we will take 0 from here, we will take 0 from the array of values and we will replace those values together. Next, decide the another array. All of these arguments we will pass in the same sequence. So you can have a look on the sequence here. Alright, so I have assigned all the values in the same sequence. Now next is that we have to run a loop. Like this template should always be there, because we will be using this template for all the orders. So what we have to do is, we have to create a new file with order number here. So we will use the same order number, and we will use copy file activity. So right now we will take this same path, so here is the file, and we want to keep the file in the same folder. So if you are using some other path, you can use complete path, otherwise you can just pass the path. So let me just use the path itself, and this path can come in any of the asset. And here in the file name we have to use the order number. So let me just modify this, double quotes, and we have to use this in between, in order number. I will copy this because same thing we have to use for PDF also, and I am repeating it again. This can come from the configuration file or using the asset. Okay, so once we have these three things and we have a new file also, or what we can do is, so what better we can do is, like, we just copy it. So now we have to use the same path, and that is why I have copied that path. So we will take one word application scope. So word application scope is not coming in my activities because we don't have packages. So let's add package. So how to add package? Manage packages, go to all packages, UiPath dot word activities. So whenever you have to use any different type of activities in UiPath, you have to add that package. So here we have to search for word application scope, first thing. So inside the word application scope, the document will be this new document. Just now we have created a path with variable, here you can see. And then now what we have to do is, we have to replace the value in this document. So we have copied the document from the template, okay, which you have seen, and from there the new file will be created. That new file we will be using here. We don't want to do any modification in this. You understood? Hope you understood. We want to create a copy and then modify that copy, and the copy creation will happen with the order number. Inside this we will be using a while loop, and the while loop will run on this array of placeholders. Okay, and how many times we have to run the loop? For all the counts that are there, so the number of count. So for that we will require one variable. So I will take one assign activity. Control K is the shortcut in UiPath to create the variable, and it will be the count of placeholders. We can get the length of the array. That will be the count of placeholders, and it will be an integer property, so we have to change the type. So in UiPath, to change the type of variable, we have to just come here in int. So we have this count now. Now we have to run the loop. So here we were going to use while loop in UiPath. So while loop is an activity in UiPath. And for how long we will be running the loop? So another variable, that is loop counter integer, and we will take this value as 0. Okay, so now here count of placeholders until it is not equal number, so it should run. So the moment it is coming on equal number, it should break. This loop counter so the count of placeholder will return the count. So starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say if there are 10 elements, so it will be starting from, it will give you the 10 count. But the loop counter is starting from 0. So the moment it will be equal, the loop should break. So as long as it is not equal, loop should continue. Count of placeholders, when it, let's say there are 10 count of placeholders, so 0, 1, 2, it will run 9 times. Okay, so that is why we are starting this from 0, and it will be the as usual count. Then every time we have to increase the counter value. So for that we will use a assign. Loop counter equals to, so when next time loop should run, the count should increase. We have to add one more activity here, that is replace. So replace in text document. So what we want to replace? We want to replace, you see, these two lists or these two arrays. So number 1 of with number 1 of this, number 2 of this with number 2 of this, like that. And it will start from 0. Now you will understand why we have taken that loop counter. So what we will do is array of placeholders. So the placeholder that is on 0, loop counter will start from 0. Replaced with array of values loop counter. So placeholder number 1 should be replaced with value number 1. The placeholder number 2 should replace with place 2. So like that. Okay. So I will just add one log so that you can every time understand. One log message. Count of this. So it will print Now loop counter plus loop counter dot toString. Okay, so we are replacing all the values one by one, and after that, once values are replaced, we finally have to save that document as PDF. So that we have to do after while loop. Save the document as PDF, and the document name will remain same. So document name will remain same as. So we will copy the same path and just come down, give this path, and here you just have to add PDF. Okay, so I think we are done, and we just have to rename these activities while replace template values place holders arrays. Same way you can just rename these all activities. Okay, and we have our values also assigned here. So you remember, like, we have given some sample values. So I will just run. So you can see when document is open now, you can just keep focus on the placeholders, changing one by one. Here, order number, unit price, it is little fast. So it has changed all the values. Now it is just saving the PDF in backend. So this is the UiPath end-to-end run. Now let's see the value. So where is the PDF? So here we have the PDF. Fine, so we have created this. Now let's create the next workflow where we have to enter the details in web page. So here is our sample web page. I will be sharing this entire zip file to you, so you don't have to worry like how will you create this and all. Create another workflow and name this workflow as web data entry. I will hit create. So I will just use the UiPath shortcut. Application, use application or browser. So we have to indicate the application here. So the moment you will indicate the application, UiPath will automatically read the URL. Okay, so I will click on this, and in my case this is a local file. In your case it can be a live URL, but since we are just seeing this project for example, so this file path will play the role of URL. Alright, once we have this, then we have to create the workflows to enter values. So what I will do is, I will, for these all the fields, I will be using recording, and for these things I will be using sample single activities for selecting the city, for choosing the file and submitting. Alright, So before we start recording, before that we have to create all the required arguments which we need here. So we need first name, we need second name, we need unit count, and we need total. Oh, I have created all as variable. So what you can do is, it is very simple. Just select everything, right click, convert to argument. So let me just check if I have created all the variables. First name, second name, or last name maybe. Last name, unit count, unit price, tax, total. What else? City, city name. So city that we have to choose. We need file name or file path rather. So now let's start the recording. Anchor is the another element close to the target element to identify the correct element. And plain text, when you don't have a variable ready and you want to use the raw text, or you just want to type some value, you can use the plain text. If you have the variables or the arguments ready, you can use the expression. So in our case, we have already created the arguments. Empty field will clear the existing text from the field. So it is, you can look at it if you want to clean the existing value or not. And then after creating from here, you can again modify the details or the selectors of these variables. So now in first name, done. Second, in last name, UiPath will set everything here on the side. Unit count, here we have to type the total. So we will take the recording till here. You can click. So this is the UiPath app recorder. You can just save it. So only thing is our variable, maybe I did not type the variables properly. So you can modify here also. In last name, in first name. And if you want me to explain few more things like target, you can check the selectors here. You can see the method, fuzzy logic or image, both we are using. If you want to use the fuzzy selector or you want to use the selector only, that you can decide. For selectors, there is a different video that I have done, so you can have a look on that. You will understand more about the UiPath selectors. Few of the elements in any few element in some of the application will be activated only after click. So you can use click before typing if your typing elements are not working. Alright, so let's continue passing the variables. Unit count text here in total. Alright, so we have completed almost. I will just minimize this. Okay, and I will try to get one more sequence. So from here also we can search UiPath activities as EQ. I will drag under this. So I can just rename this web recording, and I will keep this as web actions. So now we have completed the typing. We have to use a UI select activity to select the item from drop down. So whenever you have to select the item from drop down, you have to use UiPath select activity. Indicate on the Chrome, so you can come here, just indicate this title. And we can just confirm. Type the value here. So I will take Delhi, a hard coded value, or no, we have the argument already. So in city name. Okay, and then we have to upload the file. So to upload the file, first we have to click on this button, choose file, confirm. So once I will click on this choose file, I have to type the file path. So again I have to type into and then we have to type the same path where we have saved our PDF. So for that, what we can use, we don't have order number here, correct? So if we have to select the file which is with order number, so we will require that. Let's create one more argument, in order number. Order number plus we have to select the PDF. So here you can use the complete path also. So file path, if you have some argument or some variable where you are getting the values, you are using one variable for the folder path and another variable for the file name, and you are combining both of them together to create a complete path. So you can use that also. But here for us, PDF is available in the same folder, so we can use this. Okay, and after file is typed, then we have to click. So here I would suggest, like, if you can just use recording, but this also should work fine. there should not be any problem. Okay, and after that, once we have clicked on that, we have to click on submit button. I will just close this, come back to UiPath, indicate in Chrome, and here is the submit button. That is the final step in this window. Confirm. I think we have done all the steps. Other than that, I just wanted to show you few more things. So attach window, resize the window. You can just maximize or minimize input mode, Chromium AI, which means you will be able to see everything as it is typing in Chrome. Close the browser. So sometimes you don't want to keep the browser open after performing all the actions. So you can have a look. Never, you don't want to close the browser. You just want to perform the action. You want if open by the app. So let's say the session that was opened by UiPath, only that session of the Chrome would be closed. Otherwise, there is one more, like always you want to close. So as of now I am using default, that is always I want to close. Default is always. Alright, so just save this and let's run this work only, standalone, and check if it is working properly or not. So it has started, or nothing is getting typed. Argument I will go. How will it type, because we have not given any value? Alright, so let's give some values now. L name, U price. Oh, where is the last name? Last name is in the L. L name and unit. As of now I am taking all the values as a string. I will take 2 units. Unit price I will take as 400. Tax I will take as 40. Total I will take as 440. This is just example. We will do the integration soon and you will see everything running seamlessly one by one using the data from queue. And the data from queue, if you are in between, you have not seen the video from the start, this is the data that will be there in the queue. City name I will use Delhi. File path I will not use file path. Same order number. If you want to use the file, same order number you have to give 00123. I will change this to folder path rather. In folder path we can pass a hard-coded value for now, and that this value can come from assets or configuration file in real-time scenarios. I will add one slash. Order number we already have, so the file path will become that we will be typing here, where we will type file path here, file name. So we will, before this order number we will add in folder path plus in file name, no sorry, in order number, because because we want to select the same PDF that is for that particular order. And in folder path we have already added this slash, so we don't have to add here. Otherwise you can add in between also. I will save. Let's run this once again and see the result. First name, last name, unit 2, price 400, tax 40, total 440, Delhi, choose file now. So this is typing little slow. I will tell you one trick to type the proper file path. So don't worry, when we will click submit, all the values, even if I will just choose anything, and when I will click submit, everything will go off. That's how we have created it. The original application functionality can be like everything will be submitted in the database, but here we don't have any database in existence. We are just trying to learn UiPath, so we have everything dummy. So file is chosen. You can see the file name here. The moment you will click submit, the page will be refreshed. Alright, so now next, what is next? So next is like we have to send this email. We have done the data entry, we have to send the email. That will be the last workflow. Then we will jump on the integration. So for Outlook, we will create one new workflow. And the name will be, and then we will require UiPath mail message activities. So here in packages, we can just go in all package and we can search for path.mail activities, and we can install these activities. I have already installed, so it is not required. You can just click and save. Once we have this, next thing we require, like we require a template to send the email. So here I have a template that I have created in one notepad, and we will be using the string format in .NET, and then we will be replacing all of these values. So if you can see 0, I am using this BR because we are using the HTML format of the template. So as per the template requirement, we need one variable here, other here, and we need the last name, order number, and then we need order date and the item name. So we have to create these 4 arguments. So let's come here. I have already created these arguments, and I have assigned the default values also. So similar way as we have created in previous workflows. Okay. There are 2 variables, mail subject and template text, that I have created. Alright, so now here we have to first read the template. So for that we can use UiPath read text file activity. We can select the file from here. After that, send Outlook mail message activity of UiPath, and then email ID is in email ID, variable for subject, email subject, and email subject we can pass invoice for order number, and we already have an input argument, that is in underscore order number. So this order number will be there in the subject also. We will use this variable here and this file. So when we are reading the text file, template text file, we have to store the string output somewhere, template text, and I will use this variable here. You can create directly from here using Control K. Now I will use string dot format template text comma. So now we have the template text. In this we have 4 placeholders. So the first placeholder is in customer name. Second is, if you remember, in order number. Third is order number and in order date. There should be one more, item name. I can open this editor better. In item name. Alright, so I will explain this once again. String.format, this is the complete text from the template here, and inside this we are placing the values 0, 1, 2, 3. So which values will come at 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. We already have the default values assigned to all of these arguments. We'll just add one more thing, that is the attach file. So attach file, we have to give the in order number plus, we can pass the complete path also here, and order number I have already taken the same as we have created the file. Here you can see, so it should be taking this file. Let's run and see the result. I have already opened my Outlook so that we can validate the result. So file name is not correct. So what we might have to do, we might have to use this path. For this also we can create the variable. But as of now I will be using hard coded. So in Outlook mail message for attachment, it takes the complete path most of the times. Let's run once again. There is no error. It has not changed. So you can see the test customer is changed here, date is also changed in the placeholder, and order number is also changed in this template. You can match. Alright, only thing is that we have to do, we just have to come on this Outlook and we have to tick this mail body HTML, save, run this once again and wait for the another email. So everything it is taking from the template. Test customer, test item is the product name, that we have passed in the argument. You can check these values with the arguments also. 7 September 2020. So we have completed all the 4 workflows now, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and let's go to the PPT. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have to see all of these things. How will we upload the data in queue? How we will do the integration of entire project? So integration will be in the RE framework, and I will explain you everything, not in much detail, but yes, high level. I am assuming like you already have the knowledge about RE framework, at least basic knowledge is there. Alright, so let's get started and work on the integration now. Alright, so let's go to the RE framework template. This is our project, and inside our project main, that is the RE framework template. So UiPath Studio is just loading all the dependency required in RE framework. As I told in the beginning of the video, like if I am uploading the data directly from one Excel, in your case it might be different sources. So you might have to collect name from some web element, you might have to collect email ID from some other element, you might have to collect some other information from any other web element or the document. So as we are focusing mostly on the performer and the RE framework, so the data upload I am doing in bulk. Okay, so now our RE framework is opened. First of all, to get the data in RE framework, we require a queue. So now I will open my orchestrator. So to open the orchestrator, cloud.uipath.com. And in this cloud, you will have other services also. Let's say if you are using any other service, the OCR service, document understanding, those services also will be integrated here. So I will go to orchestrator. Alright, we have run totally 11 jobs till date, and 5 processes are already there in this orchestrator. Okay, so now what we will do is we have to go on queues. So if you can see, automation is here. So you can see all the job status, monitoring, you can see all the how many jobs are pending, how many are running. Now queues. These assets are very important topic. So assets we have covered in a separate video. So now what I will do is I will just create one queue. Invoicing 2023. I will click on, and if you want to see the SLA, you have to just enable this SLA prediction. You can set the max retry from here also. So there are different ways to set the max retry. You can set from RE framework and from here as well. Retention duration, for how long data will be available, that you can change here. And these are like how you want input or how you want output, where you want to, if you want to keep the output of the queue somewhere, you can use that. If you want to write some specific schema like some column names, then you can browse from here. And these topics are available on UiPath forum or UiPath documentation, so you can have look on these options and understand more about it. Right now I will just go ahead and create. So UiPath Orchestrator is adding the new queue. So queue is here. You can just go here, view transactions. So there is no transactions right now. Okay. So when you will add items in the queue, those items will be having some column names. If you are uploading the data in bulk, the column names will be considered from Excel or from the source which you are using. Okay, so let's remember the name invoice 2023. And now I will go to RE framework. Okay, so for there are multiple ways people create dispatchers. If that is a small activity, you can just create here. Otherwise, you can go ahead and you can create a new project, a new UiPath project altogether, and then that project will have a separate folder here. From there, you can schedule that main file as a separate pod that will upload the data. Okay, so let me do that itself. So I am going to create a new project that we have to publish separately, and I am just closing. I will go to home and click on process. I can just write as dispatcher, and I can select the folder where I want to create it. Now I am creating the dispatcher. So the project is created. You can open main. I just have to read the Excel first of all. Read range. So I will use read range here, and we have the Excel. In your case, you might have to give the complete path. Input data, we will select it. And then we will have a data table output. Q data. And we have to read the entire sheet, so we will remove this range from here. So sheet name is sales data. Alright, so once we will have the data table available, then we can use bulk. So bulk add Q item will take data table as input. So from here we have taken this data table, dt Q data, and then we have to pass the Q name. So our Q name is, we have to check here, invoice. So I will just run this dispatcher manually right now, and later we can schedule it. It is a separate main file, so even if you want, you can debug it. So in debug, you will see step by step how it is going, and if you want to slow down the steps, you can click here. UiPath will slow down the steps for you, and you can observe easily. So now let's go and check that if data is already there in the queue or not. So you will not be able to see anything here. You have to go inside view transactions. So we have the data added, view details. Okay, so the first order is coming as the last order in the Excel file, if you will notice. So this is the last order, but it is coming on the top, and you can see other details like email ID, address, other names. Okay, email ID, address. But when the bot will run, it will pick up from the last in the same order, like which was added first, that should be processed first. Now let's go back to the RE framework. So what I am doing, so in this state we have different workflows. The first thing that we have to set the configuration as nothing. So whenever it will start first time, new data will be loaded. So now how the new data will be loaded? You have init all setting a workflow. We have to just open this workflow to understand. So you can click on open workflow, it will be opened here. So there is a configuration file and there are multiple sheets. So on the configuration files we are going on all the sheets. Alright, so if you can see, sheet is here, whatever is the sheet name that will be stored into this. So configuration file will be a input argument here that we will take from the main. I will show you that also. And then we will start reading all the rows and we will start creating one configuration dictionary. So this configuration dictionary will be a key value pair. So from the first row, if you will go in the sheet, let me open the config sheet. It should be there in the data. Here is the config sheet. So you see the first one will be the key and the second one will be considered as the value for all the columns. Okay, so main focus will be on this settings column because we mostly use that. Constant also will remain as it is, but assets sometimes you use from this sheet, sometimes you can declare the assets directly in Orchestrator. So to understand this file now, so the bot will come first on the sheet 1 and it will store all the values in single variable one by one in terms of key value. So you understand the dictionary data type. It will be formed as a dictionary or in the variable. Same way it will go to all the sheets. So in all the sheets the column names, this is the column name, row, and this is the name, right? These columns are same here also and here also. So one dictionary will be created and kept ready. So once that dictionary is ready, the assets sheet is being read separately, and then we are initializing the assets also from here. So after this I will go back to main. Once we have all the dictionary available, we have to provide the orchestrator queue name. So queue name will be coming from the dictionary value which is here. So if you can see orchestrator queue name, so you can give your queue name, or if you want to create some other value for this. So let me create a separate value. I will create this my new queue, and then I will pass the value as same, that was my, just copy the queue name from here and I will paste here, sorry. Okay, so this is my queue name and this is the key for the queue name. So what I will do is I will just copy this name, go back to the RE framework. So by the time bot is reaching to this stage, it will automate, it has already read all the values from the file. So what you can do is just come here. If the queue name is not nothing, then what we can do is we can just give our key. So the key is orchestrator queue name, that is default key. So if you, but I am not using this key, I want to use my key from here. So you just have to change this key. Automatically name would be taken by the orchestrator. So this is done, queue name, and then if there is a different folder for orchestrator, you can just specify that folder. So it is by default orchestrator queue folder, you don't have to do any changes. So let me show you which folders we are referring here. So this is a separate folder, this is called a separate folder here. Okay, so as of now it is default, so we will not change anything, and if you will not keep anything, then also it is going to be on the same queue, the default one. And kill all process. So let's say if you want to close few of the applications, that you can there is a separate workflow given. So you can write the code here to kill processes. You can use here kill process activity, and then you can kill process activity of UiPath, and then you can specify your application. So let me add at least Chrome here. So kill process should be used in try catch, because let's say if the process that you are trying to close is not at all running, then what should happen? It should do nothing, but it should not send any exception also. So this thing, I will take a sequence here. One sequence should be in try. I will take one kill process. So in about the kill process activity, I have explained in detail. So as of now, I just want to kill Excel. And one more thing, I just want to kill Chrome. Okay, so I have just opened the Excel once again, and Chrome was already open. So let's run this, only this process. In exception, we will take system.exception, and we will just use a write line activity. No process. Alright, now we are good to run and test this. So Excel and the Chrome both are closed. So this is working fine. Alright, so if you will just save it and close it from here, and let's go back to the RE framework. So now if you will open the workflow kill process, you will have those activities added. So this process will close all the Chrome instances and the Excel instances. Okay. So there is something like max consecutive system exceptions. So it will, the RE framework will keep reading like how many times system exception has occurred. Based on the values, it will throw one exception like maximum count is already reached. Init all application. So init all application, you have to start all the applications. So here if you want, you can use a open browser activity, and you can open that browser, click on login and enter credentials. So you can create any workflow, but I will not do anything here because we are already opening the URL in the workflow, so I am not doing anything here. But you can create a small workflow just for login, you can utilize. Now let's go to the main and in the next state. So there is nothing now. So if everything, the status is successful, then the next state will be get transaction data. If there is a system exception, then the flow will move to end process. So from where these states are getting defined, so see system exception is here in the try catch. So everything was happening in try. So if any exception is coming, then it will be set as the system exception. And then system exception process will move to end process. Back to general business. We have the queue set it up, kill the process. We are not using anything in the start, in it process or initiate the process. We are not doing anything to start applications. Now the next is we have to get the transaction data. So now to get the transaction data, what we have to do is going to check if there is any stop signal sent from the orchestrator. And if there is any stop signal identified, then transaction item would be set to nothing by this UiPath activity. And once transaction item is nothing, the flow will automatically move to, so if you will come down, so no data. So transaction item nothing means no data, and then it will go to end process. Otherwise there is new data, then transition will move to process transaction. So now let's consider there is no stop signal sent, then flow will come into this direction. in the else section of this if condition, and here is the workflow. So if we see the arguments, so this out transaction field 1, out transaction field 2, these are the outputs which get transaction data will send to the main RE framework. So if you see this transaction field 1, transaction field 2, this will be the variables here of the main RE framework. Transaction field 1, and you can see the scope, journal business. So what will happen, get transaction data will get the details from queue, and it will send the output to main flow, and this transaction field 1 and transaction field 2 will give the data to process transaction. Okay, so let me just take you back. You can understand like this calculation here, you can understand like it is get transaction data. So get transaction data will get the data from queue, and then get transaction data will give the data to the out arguments, and out argument would be assigned to the variables when we are invoking the workflow. So now this data is with main file, that is the main RE framework, and this main RE framework will send the data using the in argument to the process transaction. Now let's see that in practical. So I am not going to use these default variables, rather I will create few variables here in the main. So if you will come in main, you can create few variables here. Same like transaction field 1, transaction field 2, and transaction ID we will not be touching. So if you want, you can rename these fields as well. Let's create some new variables only. To create the variable, I will refer this file. Variable number. And you remember, when you are creating this variable, most of the time you will do the mistake that you will not see the scope here. So it should be journal business all the time. So maybe we are seeing something in initialization, that is why it is coming. So you can just click on the main, and so now it should go to the journal business. After order number, there is order number, first name, last name, address, last name, journal business. So I will click on some empty space inside this RE framework. Then it might take some new variables. Yes, it is coming now in journal business. Variable last name, item name, variable unit, unit count, variable unit. So this var I have added so that you can understand this is a variable, and once you will have good hands on RE framework and good hands on UiPath development, you might utilize some other way, like whichever you like. As we are focusing to learn basics, so I am just using the name conventions to make the differentiation or the isolation from other things. Okay, so we have email ID, phone number is not required, unit price, unit status, order date I think we have not yet created. order date. Alright, fine. So now as we have created the variables, now in this get transaction data. So if I will open this workflow from folder, here is get transaction data. So if you will notice in get transaction data, it is opened now. Get transaction item, if you will go, so you have to give the queue name here. The same queue name that was mentioned in the configuration file will be automatically taken from the config file, and then orchestrator folder. So even if you don't keep anything, default folder it will take, but if you have a separate folder in orchestrator, that name you have to give. Out transaction item, so this will be the, so this will, this transaction item is a complete queue. It is not any column name, it is a complete record transaction item. So that you have to understand, and this transaction item we will use to get other values. So if we go to arguments, you have the out field 1, out field 2, and this out field 1 and out field 2 you must have noticed when we have invoked it. So we are invoking it here, and when we are invoking, so out field 1 and out field 2 is getting assigned to, or the giving values to transaction field 1 and transaction field 2. Alright, so let's go back to the get transaction item. Alright, so now once we have this out transaction item with us, then now we have to take the data from queue and we have to assign to output arguments. So transaction ID we keep the time. So this is the first field. You have just seen transaction field 1 and transaction field 2. So it is the empty fields. If you want, you can utilize these fields also, but we already have our variables. So let's create few more out arguments. So you have out field 1, out field 2. So all those variables that we have created in main, here we have to create those as out arguments, because out argument will take the value from queue and send the value to that particular variable. I hope you are able to connect what I am trying to say. In case if not, then you just comment, I will explain you once more. Out argument will give the data to variable, all variables, and those variables will store the data and give it to process transaction, that is in upcoming part of the video. So let's refer this file once again. Out order number, out first name, out last name, address, out city, out unit count, and let's see if we have missed something. City we have, first name, order number, order date is missed. So out order date. Alright, so I will just save it, and everything or all the arguments are out arguments that we have just now created. So if you see, out field 1, out field 2 is set as out. So we have to just change the direction here. So we have changed the direction to out for all the variables, for all the arguments. Now how will you give the values to these arguments? So you can see the transaction string dot empty it has taken, but same type you can use the multiple assign activity of UiPath. So in multiple assign you can use starting from out order number. So we will follow the same sequence that is there in the file out order number. So out underscore order number, and then we have to use the specific item. So how you take a field value from UiPath queue and how do you assign that field value to the out variable in get transaction data. So let's go back and refer this. So you have the out transaction item, correct? So we will come here. So transaction item is the complete row, one item. Out transaction item, and what type of variable is this? This is UiPath core queue item type of variable or the object, and then we have the property called get specific content, and then the column name inside the queue. So column name inside the queue, if you want to see in queue, then what you can do is, so here we have our queue, and inside the queue we have not yet run this, but if you want to see sometimes or your data is already there in the queue, you can just see the view transactions. As there is no data, so I am showing from here in this queue. In our queue we don't have not yet run the data upload. So the run which we did last time, that we have already deleted. So I will just show you in this. So if you want to take it from queue directly, so from directly you can take a transaction and then you can view details. So these are the all items, so you can just copy these labels, okay? But we are creating the queue from this data file, so the column name will remain same, so we can take it from here itself for this use case. Specific content, and then .to string. If you want to change this to the double or to integer, you can do it here itself. If let's say you have some argument or some value that should be integer only, I will keep out just to enhance the speed. What we can do is we can just copy this first of all, and then later we will just add the name. So out last name, I will keep adding out address, out city, and out unit price. So we have everything here. Let's see if we have missed out something. Order number, first name, last name, address, city, count is not required, state, zip is there, email ID is there, item name is there, unit is there, unit price there, order date we are missing in all the activities. Out order date. Now what we can do is just paste this everywhere, item dot specific content. Okay, so I have pasted. Now we have to just pass the column names one by one. So here order number is already mentioned. Here first name, so I'll just take it from Excel. And then dot to string. Okay. Second is last name. So what I was going to do, last one, like that I will just change so that last name company name is not required, address column name is this. Now city, zip, and order date is order date dot to string. Alright, so we have completed all the assignments. Just save it. Now when you will go and you will see this in RE framework where we have invoked it. So RE framework get transaction data, RE framework general business get transaction data. So here we have invoked this. So before there were only 7 arguments, but now we have created multiple arguments in the workflow file, and for those arguments we have already created variables here. If you remember just few minutes back, the default RE framework will be using these variables to take the data from get transaction item and to pass the data to process transaction. But here what we are going to do, we are going to use our variables that we have created. So now if you just see here the complete list, so this out transaction field 1 is assigned to out for transaction field 1. For our variable, these are the out arguments, right? So transaction ID we are not doing anything. Data, transaction data also we are not doing anything. But for order number, we have the variable created. So now when we are invoking the workflow, that time we have to specify that this value which is coming out should be assigned to which variable of the main. So the order number should be variable order number. Alright, and the first name should be variable first name. Last name should be going to variable last name, variable address, variable city name, variable zip should be in the end as per alphabetical order, variable email ID, variable item name, variable unit count, variable unit price, variable order date. So we have assigned everything to the process. Before triggering anything, if you just want to have a quick check like if everything is coming or not, you can use the process transaction and just write some logs there. Okay, that I will tell you. So we are done with the get transaction data. Now the get transaction data is able to get the data and give it back to the main workflow. Now next is how main workflow will give the data to process transaction. So I will come back here. Now next is process transaction. So first I will explain you the state, process transaction state. I will go to folder and I will open process.xml. So this is the main file where we have to get the data first. After getting the data here, then we can invoke the different workflows that we had created. 4 workflows. So right now it is this main file, and in this file we will invoke all the other files. So the first point is, from here we have to get the data till this file, and then from here we can connect the information in these other 4 files in some time. So let me just see if it is opened. So UiPath Studio is trying to open the process transaction process.xml file. So for the processes, this will act as the main file. Okay, so let me explain you the file, this entire state once. In process transaction, we have this process transaction triggered here in a try block of 1, and inside there is one more try catch. Okay, so in this try catch we have something called set transaction status. So set transaction status will have, I will just open this workflow to explain. So once we have completed one transaction, this set transaction status will set the status of that particular transaction based on the outcome. So there are 3 types of outcomes. Success if there is a business exception, which is the exception by logic that we write, and we will discuss this in detail in some other video. System exception is something like we are running a process and the application that is there is having some issue, or the some of the URL is not accessible. So those kind of errors come in system exception. You can read more on UiPath documentation about the business exception and system exceptions. So when transaction is successful or there is a business exception based on the logic, that time we increase the transaction number by 1 so that the bot or the process can attend the next transaction. But in case of system exception, we will assign the status to the system exception. Okay, disabled. Save it. Okay, so just for seeing like everything is working fine or not, I will open this process.xml. So we have to create again the input arguments here. So output argument in get transaction data, that will assign the value to variables, and from variables here inside. Hope you don't mind me repeating these things again and again. So I want you to remember this thing very well, because that is the main thing when you are doing the integration of multiple workflows together. Okay, so here we will be invoking other processes here soon. But now let's create the argument. To just for the differentiation, I am adding this additional keyword inarg. You can keep only in, because we have been using in multiple places, so you should not be confused by the names. Once you will have good practice, you can just use in, that will be sufficient. Arg I am adding only for understanding here. Order name, after order name we order number, sorry. address in arg, after address city, zip, email, item. City, I will just take this panel up and let's see if we have created everything. Order number, first name, last item name, unit count, unit price, order date. Price, order date, email, item name. I will create a sequence, and inside this sequence I will just take multiple write line. Just to check if we have got everything or not. Multiple log activities basically. So order number. This is just for the understanding and the explanation. You don't have to add so many logs. Okay, so now in order number, in arg argument order number. Let's copy this multiple times. First name and change the value in arg first name, and here last name. Change the value in g last name. If these values are coming, that means all the values should come. If you want to check all the arguments, then after city, so address was required after this, but no problem, we can take address here. So I will take last two things now, because we are just doing the testing, and if we are able to get these values, then I think other values should come. Unit count, unit is in unit price. So I will save this, and I just have to go back to the RE framework. Here I will come to main, and inside main, if in process transaction, you can see the when you will click on, so here we are importing that process transaction file in which we have just created the arguments. So before there were only 2 arguments, now we have created almost 8 to 10 more arguments, so that we have to import here. I will just spread this up. So this, we are taking the configuration dictionary as input, and the transaction item is also coming. You have noticed this in get transaction, it was the out transaction item, and from out transaction item the value was assigned to this transaction item, and from transaction item we are taking this as the in, because we will require to, why we need this here, because we have to set the transaction item. So just now in set transaction data, you set transaction status, you have noticed this, and we will see this once again. So you just remember from here that transaction item dot status we have to set. These all the arguments are created by us, and we have variables, those are created in main framework or main RE framework. So those variable will give the value to this in arguments. So now let's variable order number, here variable first name, and you might have noticed before we have taken out values into these variables from get transaction. Last name, we should have address here. Alright, so we have assigned values to all in argument in process transaction. So just want to take few more minutes to explain everything. So I will come in general business. In general business, these all are the variables that you have already noticed, right? For our values. From get, where we have invoked the get transaction data, if I will go inside, we have used these variables to take the values out. So out, and we are putting the value inside these variables. Okay, let's go back to process transaction. So from get transaction it is coming to main, from main it is going to process transaction. So now those same variables inside which we have kept the data are giving the data to the in variables of process transaction. I hope it is clear now. Now if you will look at this flow, here to here and then from there to back. Alright, so I think we are good to run, and I would like to remind you that so we have already created the workflow that will be adding data. Go and check that if data is already there in the queue or not. So you will not be able to see anything here. You have to go inside view transactions. So we have the data added, view details. Okay, so the first order is coming as the last order in the Excel file, if you will notice. Last order, but it is coming on the top, and you can see other details like email ID, address, other names. Okay, email ID, address. But when the bot will run, it will pick up from the last in the same order, like which was added first, that should be processed first. Now let's go back to the RE framework. I will just close this, come to main and debug now. So it will show you all the files wherever it is here in this section, and you can see the file name and the activity name which is getting executed. If you want to slow down the debug steps, then you have to just click here, but I am not doing that. So right now what is on the configuration file, it is reading the configuration one by one line. RE framework will move to the next state, that is get transaction data, but right now it is in it state only, and kill all process. So you remember, like we have added kill Chrome and kill Excel file. So now it is moving to the next state, that is the get transaction data. So this transaction data will be coming from queue, UiPath queue, and one by one we have created these variables that you could see just few seconds back, and now it is going to the process transaction. So in process transaction we have printed everything, you remember. So now it has reached, we have read the data from the queue, we have set the transaction, and now we are setting the status. And I hope you remember, we have already changed the status, we have already disabled the set transaction status, because once RE framework will set the transaction status to successful, it will not run the same transaction again. Either we have to re-upload the data or we have to delete the queue. Alright, so that's why we have disabled the status. So now if you see, it is coming again and again into this, because we have multiple items in our queue, almost 100 items or almost 20 items. So this process transaction is going for each of the transaction and it is printing. So let me show you the output here. So here is the outputs. If you can see, it is printing all the records one by one. So we can examine this a little later once it has completed all 20 transactions. At the values, you can see the argument values here, which values are coming. 16 in locals. Output, it will show you all the output values. So I have just stopped because it was taking little time. So now we can go and check like the information is coming or not. So it is going on multiple transaction, because if you just observe these logs on my screen, 9111 it has started, that is the starting number, and everything data also you can just check from here. So I have kept very simple things like unit count 302 and address 1. So you can just check here, unit count 300, unit price 300, unit count 2, it is same. And now check the last transaction. So you have seen 17 is also here. Alright, so for 17, if you will see, the 7 will be there. Last 7, customer first name is cust 7, then this is last 7, company name 7, city is any city 7. That's how I have taken, just for example. And email ID is this, some customer 7 underscore last email ID, just to avoid the copyright and the objections from YouTube. So maybe email ID is missing into this transaction, but everything else is coming perfectly fine. For 9119, if you see the information, 9119 is also, customer name is CUST9, LAST9, CUST9, LAST9. So everything is working as expected. Now that we are able to get the data in transactions. So if I explain you from here, so we are able to get the data from queue till here. Now we have to connect all of these workflows, and the data that is coming from the queue should go here. So that we are calling as integration. So let's take a small break and get back for the integration. Alright, so we are back here for integration now, as we are able to get the data till here. So let's do one thing. Now you can, if you want to keep this sequence, you can keep this sequence. Otherwise you can just keep 2 logs, that should be sufficient. In process transaction, so this is a log, so it will give you the idea that yes, the process has moved to process transaction logs, and you can add the order number here. Order number. Okay, I will take one invoke activity, and the first thing is invoke workflow. I will just remove this name, and here we have to invoke. First workflow is calculate tax. Alright, so let's invoke this workflow we have already created in the earlier part of this video. Tax calculation. Okay, import arguments. So here we have in arguments. So if you will change values here, so when you are invoking, you can just change the values. So unit count. So in so these arguments that you can see on the left hand side, the arguments of the invoked workflow. So where we are getting the in count, we are getting the in count from in argument unit count. So I have kept little bit different names so that you can understand. And then in argument arg unit price. Now both of these values we have to convert into double because this is double. So CDBL you can use to convert any argument into double. CDBL. Okay, so now there is no error. So I hope you are able to connect that we got this information in arguments from as an input argument of the process transaction, and now inside process transaction we are invoking calculation workflow. So that information which we have received, same information we are giving to the input argument of tax calculation. Now the output. So once tax calculation is done, this value will come, and this value should be assigned to some of the variable inside process. So as of now we have not created any variable to capture this information or to store this information, which will be returned by this tax calculation workflow. So let's create these two variables. If you will do Control K here, you can just write var variable tax amount, and here also you can do Control K. Payable amount. So let's open this workflow now and check if okay, now check if these variables are created. Yeah, variables are created. We have this variable here. Now next is, when we have all of this information, we have to invoke next workflow, that is create PDF, and then in the PDF we had already tax calculation, create PDF invoice. Alright, import argument. So these are the hard-coded values in the workflow. It will be overwritten. So the item name we have in argument argument unit price, in argument tax amount. So tax amount will be coming, so tax amount will not be coming from the queue. So we have not created this argument because it was a variable. So now when we have to use this, we can use the tax amount variable that we have just now created, and we have to change the type here, or we don't have to do any calculation. So if you want to change the type back to string dot tax amount dot to string, we will see when we will run, like if we have to do some changes. Payable amount dot to string, customer name. So here we can use the input argument of process.xaml file. So here we have only one customer name. So what we can do is customer first name plus last name here, order date, and then file path. So we will be creating one file here, and that file path will be going as the file value. So to file path we have to create one variable in which we have to store this file path. So again we have to go into variables and file path. File path, because it will come to the process transaction, and process transaction will give it to the next workflow, that is send email or type data. So open argument, it should come as file path here. var file path. Okay, so but we have to ensure that we are assigning some value to this out file path. So we just have to check this workflow, that is create PDF. So when we are saving the file here, at that time only we have to just assign this out file path equals to this name. Okay, now we are all set, and this path I have taken the raw path or the raw I have taken the hard coded string, but as I told, like same way as we have taken the queue name, you can take this also. Fine, we'll just minimize this if we have to open it once again. Now we are all good, so let's check this. So now this file path, the file path that we have just assigned, this same file path we are giving to a variable in process workflow. So when we will create the next to next workflow for sending email, that time we will be using the file path to attach the file while sending the email. Okay, so now here we have to invoke another workflow, that is invoke here is the workflow, and when you will import the arguments, you have to pass all of these values. So these values will be coming from same, we will be coming as same way as we have just used for create PDF. So in first name unit count, the same unit count that has come from queue. in arg unit price, the same unit price that has come from queue. Tax was calculated in a variable, so where tax amount inside, tax was calculated by a workflows, and that was given to a variable inside process, so we can use that variable to get value, and we have to convert that in total payable, and this also we have to convert in a string, because we are not doing any calculation, so we don't need it in double. Here the same name, last name that is there in the queue, City, I will change the city names because in our list, if I open that web page, we have only 4 cities. So same name we will require in the queue also. But remember that we have already uploaded the data. So I will be just deleting the queue and creating the queue once again, and then we will run the upload queue, and then we will run the dispatcher once again, so that the fresh data is coming. Same name I will use to create the queue, and then we will run the dispatcher once again, so new data will be added. So city name will be IN, whatever date is available in the data. Order number is whatever is available in the order number. I will save this. Now next is sending the email. Send email, I will just take from here, click on import argument. It will be in argument email. I have done the spelling properly, but you don't do that mistake. Order number, order date, first name plus, give a space again, plus last name. One more thing should be there, file path with file name. So this is not that file name, this is the template file name that we can use hard coded. One more argument we have to create, that should be the attachment file. I will save, and the attachment file should come into this, and hope you remember. Like we have just created one variable in process, file path, as a variable file path, and the value is coming from create template. Hope you are able to connect it. Now we can just, I think we are all set to run. Okay, before I am running this workflow, what I have to do is I just have to correct the data, and a value of city should match with this, otherwise it will send error and our process will not go ahead. Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore. Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and then I will copy this across. Okay, and now that workflow we had created, this dispatcher, we have to run this dispatcher main. I will just rename it for differentiation. This, before I am running this, I have to open cloud and I have to open the existing queue. So copy this queue and just remove this. I have run a few items for testing, so it was showing the count. Now you can just add the queue once again, create new queue, same name you can just paste here and add. That's all. Okay, so in dispatcher, so let's do one thing now. So I will publish this. So before publishing package name dispatcher, you can rename it if you want, otherwise not required. Version it will show, and it is pre-release, means if you just want to use it for testing, alpha. And package, so if you want to upload some image, you can upload some image for this package. As of now it is not required, so I will just publish it from here, and it will move to Orchestrator. Okay, so the folder will, the location of, and where it has got published, it has got published the, so the package will be available in this right now. If you want to see how it gets, so here is the nuget package which is created. If you want to change the nuget package location, so at that time of publishing you can change it. So let me publish it once again, and this time I would like to go in publishing options. I would like to select the publishing location here. Okay, and then maybe I will do publish. It will sit in the same folder where we are creating this entire project. Alright, now we have to publish the other RE framework. So this is, there are two files. Dispatcher is done. I will close it just to avoid the confusion. Now we will publish this performer. So performer, I will go to main, save all, so that all the changes that we have done are saved, and then we can just publish it. RE payment project version, and then publishing options. We can select the folder where we want to keep our nuget package output, select folder and publish. So it is building the package is built. Okay, so now we can go to Orchestrator, and how to schedule a process in Orchestrator. So I will come to home, let's go back to Orchestrator. So in Orchestrator I have deleted few of the old processes so that we don't get much confused. Now to create the processes, first of all we have to use a nuget package. So you remember just now we have created two different nuget packages after publishing our two different projects. Okay, so now in this, if you will click on processes, and the moment you will click on add process, it is going to ask you to select a package, and the package which we have published are not available here in UiPath Orchestrator. So now first thing is that in UiPath Orchestrator we have to add the packages, required packages, then only we can create our process. Okay, so now to add the required packages, you can click on my packages and you can upload your packages. So these are the packages which are already uploaded. If you want, you can go and you can view version. So it is showing active. Active means this package is being used into some of the process. If you will click on all of this, maybe some of this will be inactive. All are active, so these are being used in some of the jobs. Let me see this July one. Yeah, this is also active. So some of the processes using these versions right now. This is inactive, which means none of the process is using this package right now. Now what we have to do is a simple task: upload the package that we have just created here. So once you will upload these packages, and if you want, you can rename these packages. So these packages would be uploaded in the orchestrator, and I would like to see which process can upgrade. So let's say if I will do some changes in the process right now, so there are some errors, I am doing some changes or some speed or some delay, whatever I am adding, and then I am republishing the same package, there will be a different version available. So the moment you will publish, the next version will be automatically reflecting in orchestrator. That also we will see in some time. So it will be showing a upload sign, upgrade sign. Close. All right. So we have our processes here. Okay, so one is dispatcher and one is RE payment. Now using these two packages, we have to create process. Add process. I will give the name as, first of all, select the package, that is dispatcher, and it will automatically take the entry point. If you have some other file name, then click next. It is, and it shows like it is going to use queue. So you will be able to see which queue it is going to take or consume, and then you will click next. You can give it name like invoice or dispatcher invoice 2023, or some name you can give, that whatever is fit as per your process. Create. Just close, we don't want to run this right now. So you have, I think it was already created, so I will delete this so that we are not confused. Okay, dispatcher 2023. We will create one more process, that is selecting the RE Framework Payment Project, and then the entry point is main example, that is the RE Framework main example. Okay, I will click on next. So it is just showing us few of the details, folders. So don't worry about all these things, we can just run this and then correct. I will keep a display name as invoicing and create this process. Alright, I will go to close. Now let's say if you want to use these processes and you want to create a trigger, so you can just go to triggers, add a new trigger, name your trigger test. I am not going to create a trigger right now because I will manually run it. Process name, we have just created two different processes, so you can select any of the name. So dispatcher you can select, or RE framework, whichever you want to select, you can select that. After that you can select whenever you want to run it. If you want to have some of the holidays, so you can upload a file here, and in detail you can look in UiPath documents how to upload holidays file in Orchestrator triggers. And then you might have to give some values, how many times you, every hours if you want to run, what is the hour and what is minute. Weekly if you want to run, which day you want to run. So all these settings you can do. Alright, so I am not going to create a trigger here because I will run this manually. I will go back to automations, leave this page. Okay, so first of all we have to just we have to go to queue and let's check if there is any existing data in the queue. We have already deleted the data from queue. So queues, I will just see if data is there. Go to transactions, view transaction. No, nothing is there. So what we can do is we can come to my workspace, come to processes. So if I will do start job from here, I don't have a separate machine. I am using same machine for UiPath Studio also, so the start button will be disabled, but in your case it should be enabled, and you have to tag a different machine than the studio machine, because studio machine will be busy at that point of time. Alright, so just to complete this, what we have to do is we have to take help of UiPath Assistant, and the UiPath Assistant is available in this tray. If you are not able to see it, you can search here also, UiPath Assistant. Alright, and you can use from here. So I will be back to UiPath Assistant. First we will run dispatcher. Installing the required packages, job started processing, you can see the status, and last run is completed. So I will just go and in my Orchestrator workplace, I will go to queues, and this is our queue, right? So I will see if data is loaded or not. View transactions, right? So we have the data loaded here. Now once data is loaded, what we have to do is, and if you want to see this, we have to come here, this payment. So this is the performer which will perform all the action that are in scope. These all actions: doing the calculation, creating the template, doing the web entry, and sending the email. And remember, we have, and hope you remember, in our video we have disabled the transaction status successful, because if once transaction status is set to successful, bot will not run again. But just for the explanation, we wanted to run this process multiple times. So what I will do is, after running first time, we will see if there is any issue. If there is no issue, we will enable that and we will publish a new package. Okay, and then we will upgrade that package in Orchestrator. So it is initiating the process. The first thing, it will do the calculation after taking the data from queue. I think that should be happening, and then it creates the template once all the data is ready. So template creation is happening. I will minimize this. So you can see it is changing these placeholders. zip, it is coming inside the table, changing it, and everything is happening. You can see my hands are here. So everything is happening automatically. Now it should do the data entry in the web. So data entry is already started. Mumbai, it will choose the file. Yes, file is available, it has submitted. So this is how it will go. How many times, how many transactions we have? We have almost 18 to 19 transactions. So this process would be repeated for all of those transactions. So now it is moving on the another queue item. Two transactions are completed. So I think it is right time that one more transaction we will see, and if you are not able to see this template, work is happening here. Now after template data entry, and we have not yet checked like if emails are coming or not. So I will check one more transaction, that is number 5, and then maybe we should check. You can see the files here, files are getting created. So sometimes you might not be able to see everything, because right now you must have noticed that template icon was coming, the word icon was coming here, but we could not see it live because bot was working in backend. So you might not be able to see some of the windows, but so you will see that again it has come. I will just open for the last point, for the last data point. So you can see data is getting changed, and after this one we are going to stop it. Data entry will happen now. Why we are going to stop it? I just want to explain you how can you do the changes in a workflow and then publish a new package. So I will go to assistant, and from assistant I can just stop the job. So hope you remember in get transaction data we have something to check like a stop signal. So this stop signal is when triggered to the already sent to the get transaction status, but whatever was there in the process transaction, that everything will happen. So now the thing which we could not notice so far is the email, that email is coming or not. So let's go to Outlook. So for checking the email, we have to go in send items, because all the email IDs that we have used were dummy email IDs. So you can open this. The only point is like attachment is not coming. So you have the email coming. So you can check the timing here, and if you want to check the, and let's check the file creation timing also. So file creation, so let's check the file if the file is created properly or not. So let's check the data for this particular order number 9112. I will open the Excel file. So you can see all the doc file and all the Excel files for whichever order number we have run, all are created here. If you want, you can use a delete file activity and you can delete the Word file, or you can move the file into some other folder. So these are the activities in UiPath that you can keep exploring. So 9111, 9112. So for 9112, the tax amount, the unit price is 350. The unit price is 350. Tax amount is calculated 15%, and then there are how many units? 3 units. So based on that you can calculate, it will be perfectly fine. I have the confidence. Now let's check another file that is 1116. So 9116 9116, we have 2 units, 350 rupees, and customer name is 6 last 6. Customer name is 6 and last 6. So files are getting created, data entry is happening. Only problem is like the attachment is not coming. So what we can do is, we have the workflows inside this. Just open that send email workflow, and then let's check for this attach file, in attach file. So let us just add one log here. So I understand what will be happening, like Outlook required the complete file path. So in argument, if we see attachment, in attachment file, so this is the input argument, and let us go where we have invoked this. In process we have invoked this. So send email, I will just open it, variable file. So now variable file path, so this value will be coming from here in this workflow. So variable file path, out file path. So what is the value of out file path in create PDF? Because create PDF is giving the value to process, and process is giving the value to send mail. I think we missed to give the file path. So out file path, I think we have to use one assign activity, and out file path will be the PDF file path, that is same. Now just save it. After saving it, let's do one more change in process transaction, that set transaction status successful. So if you will go and check in Orchestrator right now, queues, so we have run 7 transactions, alright, and nothing is showing successful because we had disabled that activity. So now I will go back and go in this set transaction status. In the set transaction status, we will come to this stage, and that success we will enable. So it will set the set transaction status as Control E is the shortcut to enable. Okay, just save it. Now we can publish this. We have to come to main, or you can publish from anywhere and publish it from here. So you can note this version, current version is 1.1. just publish, and you can see the URL is same. If you want to see some other options, you can come here, just publish it now. Okay, let's go to Orchestrator. go to automations, packages. So this one, payment project, you can just have to upgrade the process. So we have just uploaded the new package. So let's upload the, okay, so let's refresh it and see the package name, view version, and you can just publish this. New version is there. Upload the, now you go to process and just RE payment, so you can just have a look, explore package. So the latest package is already applied. Alright, now, so here also we were using the same packages. We have created the process earlier, but right now we are using this one. Okay, so I will go to UiPath Assistant. If you will come to UiPath Assistant, because we have done changes in this RE payment project, so it is showing changes. You just have to click and then it will install all the required changes and run the process once again. So the next transaction is started, number 8. So now only thing that is there to check is like if email is coming or not. Rest everything we have checked, everything is working as expected, and I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button, subscribe and share this to your friends so that my channel can grow and I can create more projects for you. Okay, so job is starting. Now I can minimize this so that you can see the process happening. So order number 9 is being processed. Order number 19119 is being processed now. So we will just stop after this and see if the email is going. So if you will do a stop, the stop will happen just before reading the new queue item. The process state will be executed completely. So I think again we just have to check the email now. Yes, so from 8 we have the attachment also coming. For 9 also we have the attachment also coming. And file also you can read. So you can validate from here itself 1119 and the email ID that is there for 1119 is customer 9 underscore last 9 at someone email.com gmail.com. I will show you the same thing in data. I think we have not yet stopped it, so just stopping the process here. Yes, minimize it. You can close because this transaction is not yet set to success, and I will explain like how can. Okay, let me open the data now as I was doing. Here it is. So 9 which PDF we have opened? Okay, the email is for customer 9 and order number is 9919. Hope you remember the development of the send email workflow and using template 9919. So 9919 comes here, customer 9, first name 9, last name 9, first name, the name complete, dear first name 9, last name 9. Okay, so here you can see the first name last name combination, order number, date, order processing date is 9th of 28/9. This is because of the format that you can work upon. And then product is television. Same data will be here. Television 28/9919. Alright, any question in entire workflow, you can ping me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share my video to your friends and let me know if I have missed something which I could not explain you properly.